The Ottomans, a civilization of military schools, gunpowder, and cavalry. Welcome to the Soul of Civilizations, a format designed to introduce you to each civilization in Age of Empires 4. This series will help you choose amongst the many civilizations available and also allow you to better understand them, whether you're playing them or facing them. Let's start with difficulty. The Ottomans are rated 2 out of 3 stars by the game, but I'd like to give my own take. The Ottomans are easy to play because their overall mechanics are simple to grasp. However, some aspects are more complex, especially the Imperial Council points, which offer you a wide variety of versatile choices but require some game knowledge to use effectively. That's why I would give them a rating of 1.5 out of 3 stars. It's a very solid civilization for beginners and also ideal for players beginning to understand the game's mechanics and looking for a bit more challenge. The first thing that comes to my mind when someone asks me what defines the Ottoman is military schools. The military schools are a unique Ottoman building. They cost 150 wood and 100 stone. Think of the military school as an economic building. It produces military units for free, although more slowly than standard production buildings. You can produce any unit in a military school that you could normally produce in a barracks, archery range, or stable. Subject to age restrictions, of course. Each unit's training time is balanced against its cost. For example, a spearman is produced faster than a man-at-arms, because a man-at-arms is more expensive than a spearman. You can build 1 military school per age, so 1 in age 1, 2 in age 2, 3 in age 3 and 4 in age 4. To understand the value of a military school, here's an example. A spearman takes 1 minute and 10 seconds to produce in age 1. It's worth 80 resources and the school itself costs 250. That means it pays for itself in about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So it's crucial to protect your military schools so they can generate value. If you're playing against the Ottomans, try to harass your opponent during the delay of their return on investment. Or use that time to go to H3, build a second town center, etc. Given the cost of the military schools, here's a little tip. With the Ottomans, you start the game with 50 stone in the bank. It allows you to take 5 villagers, mine 10 stone for each one of them, and you'll be able to construct your first military school right away, speeding up its payoff. For the second specificity of the Ottomans, let's stay with the military. The Ottomans produce their military and technological buildings, such as barracks, archery ranges, stable, blacksmiths and universities, as well as their docks, cheaper. A substantial reduction, particularly on barracks, which allows you to make a spearman rush right from the start of the game. The Ottomans excel in this discipline, as their barracks are worth 90 wood instead of 150. This means you can get to your opponent's base quicker and put them under pressure from the beginning of the game. This bonus is still very effective for the rest of the game, as it allows you to spam your buildings for less resources and therefore allocate your resources to other things. With the Ottomans, every time you produce a military unit or every time you age up, you gain XP. Yes, XP in Age of Empires 4. This experience allows you to unlock Vizier points. These Vizier points are extremely versatile and can give you access to some very powerful bonuses, but they are rather complex to understand because there are so many of them. For now, let's note the presence of these Vizier points. We'll look at their impact on the game later. In any case, you can have a maximum of 5 of these Vizier points unlocked in a course of a game. Now that we know the basics about the Ottomans, let's talk about their HQ. You can choose between the Sultanani Trade Network and the Twin Minarets Madrasa. Let's start with the Sultanani Trade Network. This is a slightly special market as it allows you to garrison traders. Each trader will produce 24 gold per minute when garrisoned in this building. Moreover, as soon as you produce the Sultanani Trade Network, you get 3 traders for free. As this building is a market, you can of course trade normally with neutral trading posts or with your allies. This building is perfect if you're worried about losing control of your gold or if you want to trade over long distances. The fact that you can position your traders inside and have a continuous supply of gold means that you won't lose your villagers in the event of an attack, for example. The second landmark, the Twin Minaret Madrasa, allows you to have berries that can be harvested 50% faster than normal berries. These berries reappear every 120 seconds and you can have a maximum of 4 berries around this building. To make sure you don't run out of food and get 100% of the bonus from this building, I'd advise you to place 4 villagers to collect the berries from this building if you haven't done horticulture, and if you've done the technology, place 3 of them. This building is perfect for having infinite food in your base and therefore prevents your villagers from taking risks in the field, so prefer this landmark when you're afraid of being attacked. Now that we are H2, we can talk about another extremely powerful bonus. The Ottomans have an influence around their blacksmith and university that boosts the production speed of your military buildings in the surrounding area. This bonus is 20% at H2, 30% at H3 and 40% at H4. Extremely powerful for producing your units faster and therefore having to produce fewer military production buildings. It's also excellent in synergy with military school, as I remind you, this military school produces units slowly but free of charge. If you produce them faster, you'll have free units sooner. So make sure you always produce your military production buildings around your blacksmiths or university, and especially your military schools. When you reach H2, you can unlock a specific Ottoman unit, the Mehter, the war drummer of the civilization, a troubadour of war who can set the mood in your army. This unit has an aura around it that can boost your surrounding units. It can adopt 3 different rhythms that can boost your units in different ways. The first rhythm increases the attack speed of all surrounding units by 15%. The second increases their melee armor by +2, and the last increases their range armor by +1. This unit is a vital part of the Ottoman troop. Make sure you always have a Mehter in your army, as it will boost your units according to the bonus you need. Be extremely careful with these Mehter, as they have relatively expensive units, so if they get sniped and die, you lose their bonus and will have to rebuild another one. It's now time to introduce you to the first Vizier point that you can unlock with the Ottomans. We talked about this earlier. Every time you produce a unit or go on an NA job, you get experience for Imperial Council points. As you can see, there are several lines within this Imperial Council. Line N+1 can only be unlocked if you have already selected a point from line N. Selecting 2 points from line N will not allow you to access line N+2. What are the first points that you can unlock with the Ottomans? Let's look at Mehters. You unlock 2 free Mehters that appear in your town center, and all your Mehters, the 2 from this point but also all the next ones you build, will boost the movement speed of all your units by 15%. Extremely powerful for attacking your opponent. Another point available from the start of the game for the Ottomans is the sheep point. You get 10 sheep for free in your town center, which is worth 2,000 of food. This point is very similar to the twin minaret madrasa, which allows you to have food safely in your base without risking your villagers. In addition, this sheep point allows you to increase your villagers' stone and gold gathering speed by 15%. The last point available to the Ottomans is to obtain 2 imams. These 2 religious units are very useful for a whole range of things. Firstly, they are religious units and can therefore heal in the traditional way. They can also take relics and sacred sites as long as you are H3. On top of that, when you unlock this point, all your imams will be able to heal in an area around them. This point is extremely powerful in fast H3, especially when there are a lot of melee units among your opponent's troops or yours. Be careful though, if there are archers in your opponent's troop, they can either snipe your monks or put all the damage on one unit, in which case the monks won't have time to heal it. Let's move on to the second line available in the Ottoman Council points. The first point allows you to unlock an additional military school. As I said earlier, you can only produce 1 military school per age. Well, here you have an extra one. Now let's talk about Akinjis. Akinjis are specific Ottoman units that are only available when you click the corresponding Imperial Council point. This point allows you to produce them in archery ranges or in your military schools, but also to obtain 3 of them directly from your town center. These units are extremely powerful in terms of mobility, as they are cavalry archer units. They are therefore excellent for damaging your opponent's economy or for dealing with any units that are not very mobile, thanks to their arrows. However, These units are particularly strong against light units as they have 2 attacks that do little damage, which is always weaker than a single attack that does a lot of damage, as armor is applied twice. Akinjis are excellent in synergy with Mehters, but also with a unit we'll be introducing later, the Sipahis. The last Imperial Council point available for rank 2 is Crossbow Fortification. Crossbow Fortification allows you to equip all your defenses with crossbows instead of arrows. This equipment allows you to do +1 damage against all units, but also specifically +2 damage against heavy units. This point also allows you to pay 20% less for all defense-related buildings such as outposts and keeps, as well as town centers. Let's move on to the third line of the Ottoman Imperial Council. You can choose Advanced Academy, which increases the production speed of your military schools by 20% and also gives them the opportunity of training cavalry lancers and Janissaries. I'll introduce you to the Janissaries a little later and you'll see that they are an extremely interesting unit. This is one of the most powerful points of the Ottoman Imperial Council, as it boosts your military schools, one of the strongest Ottoman building. On top of that, it gives you some very powerful units, which will help you win on the battlefield. Speaking of a powerful Ottoman feature, we are now going to talk about the Janissary Company, which creates 2 Janissaries for each military school you've built. You also have 2 additional Janissaries who join this troop. So, if you have 5 military schools, for example, you can raise 12 Janissaries. This represents a colossal amount of resources. One Janissary is worth 160 resources. So if you make 10 of them appear, for example, because you have 4 military schools, you can make 1,600 resources appear on the ground instantly. This can be an excellent point for defending yourself when you are in a difficult position, or for finishing off your opponent if you see that you can take an advantageous fight. The last point of the third rank of the Ottoman's Imperial Council is Pax Ottomana. This point allows you to build villagers 75% faster for 4 minutes in all your town centers. Excellent if you have several town centers, of course, a little less interesting if you only have your main town center. Here we go for the last line of the Ottoman Imperial Council points. The first point allows your infantry to enter a siege unit to boost their attack speed. You can put 1 unit in each siege unit, and this will boost the attack speed of that engine by 25%. Another point with the Ottomans is the possibility of having a Great Bombard appear directly at your town center, whatever your age. The Great Bombard is a siege unit specific to the Ottomans that does a lot of damage, particularly against buildings or infantry, and especially area damage. Excellent for breaking up opposing formations or buildings. This unit is normally available at age 4, but with this point you can have one regardless of age. However, if you click it before age 4, this Great Bombard will be less powerful. The last Imperial Council point I have to present to you, which is available at rank 4, is Trade Bags. This point allows you to increase the amount of gold collected by traders, whether they are in the Sultanate trade network or not, by plus 40%. Quite simply, it's one of the best economic points I've ever seen in AoE 4. 40% increase of resources production on one of the best sources of income in the game. With this point, Ottoman traders will be unrivaled. However, it implies having a trade which isn't necessarily easy to defend. When I think of the Ottomans, I can't help but think of the Sipahis. This light cavalry unit is extremely powerful. One of the best, if not the best, light cavalry units in AoE 4. This unit is more expensive than standard light cavalry unit. However, it has more overall stats. In addition to this, Sipahis have a special ability called Fortitude, which increases their attack speed by 50%, but in exchange increases melee damage taken by 50%. As light cavalry units are ideal for killing villagers, archers or siege, the Fortitude ability comes into its own in fights where these units are isolated in order to eliminate them quickly without taking extra damage in return. However, when there are spearmen and men-at-arms to defend, avoid using Fortitude. There is, however, an exception to what I've just said, as Sipahis have another quality: their attack range. This attack range is much greater than the one of most melee units. Thanks to this range bonus, your Sipahis can hit behind units that are on the front lane. For example, you can pair Sipahis with spearmen or men-at-arms who can then tank damage for them. You can even activate Fortitude in this kind of situation if you're sure that the Sipahis won't take damage. As we've seen in this video, the Ottomans have a few bonuses when it comes to food, notably the Imperial Council point, which unlocks sheeps, and the H2 landmark, the Twin Minaret Madrasa. However, the Ottomans have a disadvantage when it comes to food. They can't hunt wild boar, as the Ottomans are a Muslim civilization, and Age of Empires 4 ensures that history influences the game mechanics. Now it's time to move on to H3. For Ottomans, choose between the Istanbul Imperial Palace or the Mehmed Imperial Armory. The Istanbul Imperial Palace allows you to increase your Imperial Council point limit by +3. As previously stated, you have a maximum of 5 points per game. Well, with this Imperial Palace of Istanbul, you can have a maximum of 8. On top of that, the Istanbul Imperial Palace gives you an area of influence around it where experience for Imperial Council points is doubled. So you'll generate more Imperial Council points and much more quickly. Another choice is Mehmed Imperial Armory. It's simply a military school for siege engines. You can produce springles, mangonels, trebuchets, rams, and even at H4, Ribaldoquins and Great Bombards, all free of charge of course, as this is a military school. This Mehmed Imperial Armory also benefits from blacksmith and university bonuses on production speed, so don't hesitate to put it near them so that it can produce more quickly. This landmark is perfect for building a more powerful army, but beware, it will be less mobile as siege units move slowly. At H3, you unlock the Janissaries, and I was really looking forward to introduce you to this unit. You can unlock Janissaries particularly in Imperial Council points, regardless of your age, but to produce them in military production buildings such as military school or archery ranges, you'll need to be H3. This unit looks like a hand cannoneer, but in fact it isn't really. First of all, Janissaries are light units, so they are countered by archers. Janissaries are anti-cavalry units, so they are excellent for synergizing with siege, since siege is pretty weak against cavalry raids in general. Use springles and mangonels to eliminate opposing infantry, whether at a distance or in melee, and protect this siege from cavalry raids with Janissaries. Add to this powerful army a few melee units to take damage, or Sipahis to add raids into the opposing economy or eliminate the opposing siege, and you have the very essence of the Ottomans. A powerful army that is very difficult to counter, but not very mobile. So you're vulnerable to your opponent running into your base and wiping out your economy because you can't run everywhere with your siege. Let's get back to our Janissaries, who are excellent against cavalry, but still have good basic damage, which means they can do damage against any type of unit. The Janissaries are unique in that they are the only military units that can repair siege. You can do this directly during your battles to repair your siege engines so that they are not destroyed, or you can repair them before a major battle. Our adventure is close to an end, but before that we're going to move on to H4. With the Ottomans, choose between the Istanbul Observatory or the Seagate Castle. The Istanbul Observatory is a university, so you can do all the technologies inherent in universities in this landmark. You should also know that in Ottoman universities you don't have access to the technology of the hand cannoneers, as your Janissaries replace them, but are not this type of unit. The special bonus of the Istanbul Observatory is a 100% increase in production speed for all buildings, boosted by the influence of your blacksmiths and universities. The basic bonus for Ottomans is 40%, but with this building it rises to 140%. This is a colossal difference that can enable you to produce an army extremely quickly and synergizes particularly well with the military schools, but also with your H3 landmark, the Mehmed Imperial Armory, which allows you to produce siege for free. The other H4 building is the Seagate Castle. This building is a keep that allows you to secure an area in a very powerful way, as this building has a free Great Bombard emplacement. You heard it well, this is a Great Bombard emplacement, not a cannon emplacement. It's an Ottoman specificity, and all Ottoman keeps can benefit from this emplacement to better defend. It's simply a cannon that does a lot of damage and makes a lot more noise. In addition to this, the Seagate Castle creates an aura around all your keeps, including the Seagate Castle, which boosts the armor of all your traders by +8 and their movement speed by 30%. This is an excellent way to defend a trade over long distances, making it more solid and giving it more resources. At H4 you unlock access to the Great Bombard and Ribaldoquins for the Ottomans. We've already talked about the Great Bombards, which are extremely powerful siege units, particularly with the units I introduced you earlier, and the Ribaldoquins are specific units that you can find in certain civilizations, including the Ottomans. This unit can do an enormous amount of damage to your enemies. However, it is very vulnerable to ranged damage. Did you like the Soul of Civilizations? Let me know in the comment section so that I can keep the momentum going. Also, don't hesitate to share the video with those around you who might be interested. Of course, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this video. Thank you for watching this video, and if you're still here, comment Imperial Council in the comment section so that I can know who stayed until the end. And don't hesitate to click here to see the rest of the Soul of Civilizations and discover a new civilization of Age of Empires 4.